All right, let's dive into this incredible ancient story. It's all about a king who's been cursed to die, a prophecy that seems completely impossible to fulfill, and the unbelievably clever plot that's hatched to make sure fate gets its way. So here's the big question, right? You've got King Parikshit, who is cursed to die from a serpent's bite. Simple enough. Except he's locked himself away in what's basically an impenetrable fortress. So how in the world is a snake supposed to get to him? Well, the answer is this fascinating game of magic, wit, and strategy.
Now, before our serpent can even think about getting to the king, there's a huge hurdle in his way. It's a classic showdown. In one corner, we have Takshaka, the serpent king, armed with a truly deadly curse. And in the other corner, Kashyapa, a master healer whose magic might just be powerful enough to reverse death itself.
And we're not talking about your everyday magic here. The power levels are off the charts. Takshaka's venom is so incredibly potent that a single bite can literally incinerate a giant tree, turning it to ash in a second. But then you have Kashyapa, whose power is the complete opposite. He can use his chance to bring life back from those very ashes. This is setting the stage for a major magical clash.
So, of course, they have to put their powers to the test. Takshaka, full of confidence, strikes the tree, and poof, it's gone. Just a pile of ash. But then Kashyapa steps up. He gathers the ashes, starts chanting his mantras, and you see this little green shoot pop up. And in moments, the tree is back, standing there just like it was before. The proof is right there. Kashyapa's magic is a perfect counter to the serpent's deadly venom.
Okay, so Takshaka realizes Plan A, brute force, is a total bust. He can't overpower the healer. So what's Plan B? Well, if you can't beat him, maybe you can buy him. This is where the story shifts from a magical duel to a really high-stakes negotiation.
When Takshaka asks the healer, "Hey, why are you so set on saving this king?" Kashyapa's true motive comes out. And it's not about duty or saving a life for the sake of it. It's about the reward. He's in it for the gold. And that greed right there is the crack in the king's only real defense.
And you know, Kashyapa has to justify this to himself, right? So he takes a moment to meditate. And in this mystic state, he sees that King Parikshit's fated lifespan is already up. So in his mind, he's not really changing fate. He's just letting it happen and, getting incredibly rich in the process.
And just like that, the deal is done. Takshaka promises Kashyapa way more gold than the king ever could. The healer takes the offer, turns around, and simply walks away. The king's best and only hope has just been bought off, leaving him totally exposed.
So, the healer is out of the picture. Obstacle 1 is gone. But Takshaka still has this massive, seemingly impossible challenge ahead. How to actually get past the king's insane physical and magical security. I mean, get a load of these defenses. The king is living in a mansion that's literally floating in the air. It's shielded by powerful spells, surrounded by all these rare anti-venom herbs, and his guards are watching him 24/7. It sounds absolutely foolproof, so how could anything possibly get through?
Takshaka gets it. He's not going to break through this fortress. He's not going to fight his way in. He has to trick his way in. It just goes to show you, the most complex defenses can be taken down by the oldest trick in the book, good old-fashioned deception.
And this leads us to the final, incredibly tense moments of our story. The serpent's plan starts to unfold, and it doesn't arrive with a big show of force. It arrives as a simple, humble, and seemingly harmless gift.
So picture this. Takshaka sends his followers, but they're disguised as holy men, as Rishis. They walk up to the fortress, totally calm, offering gifts of fruit and holy water. Of course, the guards aren't going to turn away revered sages, so they let them right in. It's the perfect Trojan horse.
And this is where it gets a little spooky. Fate itself seems to step in. The king accepts the gifts, and as he's looking over the fruit, something, the story calls it fate, makes him reach out and pick one specific fruit. Of course, it's the very one where Takshaka has hidden himself.
So as the king examines the fruit, he finds something inside. And it's not a giant, terrifying serpent. Nope, it's a tiny, ugly little worm with these shiny black eyes. He has absolutely no idea that he is holding his own doom right there in the palm of his hand.
So now we're at the climax. The king thinks he's made it, that he's survived the curse, and in his moment of relief, he's about to make a fatal mistake, turning a little joke into a tragic, ironic end.
And this is it. This is the fatal mistake. The sun is setting on the last day of the prophecy. The king feels safe, he's relieved, and in a moment of pure arrogance, he laughs. He looks at this tiny worm and actually dares it to become Takshaka and fulfill the curse. He literally jokes about it, inviting his own death.
And his joke becomes reality in a split second. He places the worm on his neck and bam! In a flash, it transforms into the massive, terrifying Serpent King. Before anyone can even move, Takshaka wraps his coils around the king and with a huge roar, delivers the fatal bite.
And that was it. The prophecy was fulfilled. The curse was complete. After all the magic, all the fortifications, and all the cunning plans, the story ends with one simple, undeniable fact. His time had come.
And this whole story leaves us with this really interesting question to think about. Was it Takshaka's brilliant strategy, the bribery, the deception, that sealed the king's doom? Or was the serpent just a tool, an instrument of a destiny that was already written, a destiny that the king himself ironically helps to bring about? I think what we can really take away from this is that sometimes the most powerful force isn't magic or money. It's just the inescapable pull of fate itself.